Lastly, I want to talk to you about him, the teammate. I'm going to give you two examples that I've heard about. One, somebody at Ohio State was telling me that when they played in the college football playoffs, and it looked like Ohio State was going to win the game, that he was screaming to defensive linemen and guys that necessarily would not be in his purview what was coming, where it was coming. And they talk about him as a teammate. He's the kind of guy that would go over when Kirby was tough, put his arm around a kid and tell him it's going to be all right. Understand his barks, not his bite. And that they talked about off football, meaning obviously the plays against Ohio State are on the field, but his football mentality to make everyone better. Irvin Johnson once told me, you can't be a great player if you don't make everybody around you better. You can just be a good player. That those intangibles, how he leads guys. One person said to me, it's phenomenal to see. Did you see that?
Yeah, yeah, and Kirby talked about it. Chris is a competitor. I mean, he'll fight you if you blow your. I mean, he's that guy in the huddle. That's going to make, like I said, that's going to make everyone right, not just with the calls, like you were just talking about against Ohio State, but with the challenges, right? And whatever it takes. If it's a young player that needs the encouragement, if it's somebody else that should have known their assignment, he's extremely competitive. He wants to win at everything, and yet it's not overbearing. You don't see anything too demonstrative. It's not like there's going to be a camera on him on the sideline. It's a tone of voice. It's something that he's earned through his hard work in the weight room. But again, I mean, the first 3 years, first 2.5 years I was here, he was relatively anonymous. He was just a name on the depth chart. And then suddenly when he was pressed into action, he said, oh, there's a little bit of a drop off from Richard LeCounte to him. But I'm telling you, Hondo, by the time the next season started, Soldier Chris went to work. And he went to war against Clemson. You played that pick six. I mean, I hope you have the opportunity to play that play, for the Raider fans. And I mean, it was one of those games where somebody had to blink first. The defenses were outstanding. A lot of people don't remember, but Clemson actually had the second best defense in the nation. That was the number one and number two defenses in the nation facing off in the first game of the season in Charlotte. And it was fantastic. And it was Chris that really made the game-breaking play that I thought launched the season. And if they don't win that game, they don't get a second chance at Alabama. If you'll remember, if we fast forward to the SEC title game, Bryce Young in Alabama, for those that doubt Bryce Young, he put 41 up on the best defense of the modern era. Georgia only allowed 6.9 points per game in that regular season, which was the fewest since 1986 Oklahoma. Bryce Young was spectacular. But because Georgia was undefeated, they still made the playoff. And then, of course, they plowed through yet another overrated Michigan out-coached team, which is just miraculous that somehow Jim Harbaugh once coached a Super Bowl. I'm like, really, that's not a joke. That did happen. And they just destroyed the Michigan team in the playoff. And then the second chance against Alabama, they shut out Bryce Young and kept him out of the end zone for 3 quarters. So, and Chris Smith was a big reason why they were able to make some modifications. But if they don't beat Clemson, they don't get the second chance. And without Chris Smith, they don't win that championship. So I think he's a gem. I think he's a fantastic player. I think he's going to do tremendous things, and he's a character guy. Now he plays with enough of an edge that he fits the Raiders in that sense. But off the field, this is a guy that, there was nothing. I mean, this guy is where he's supposed to be all the time. Very responsible kid. Comes from, Atlanta. So he has had things around him before that he's had to be disciplined and grow through. So I think he's a fantastic draft pick. I'm excited for the Raiders.
Mike, we've been friends a long time, and every time I talk to you, I love the anecdotes, but there's a lot of young people watching our podcast or listening who are going to be like, wait a minute, did that old man just say Oklahoma played defense?
Yeah, right. Yeah, 1986 Oklahoma. I know it's hard to believe, some throwback. Yeah, and the Harbaugh. I don't know what to say about. I'm sure you've talked about Jim Harbaugh before. I thought a fantastic, ingenious. Maybe just thinks too hard. But yeah, these Michigan teams have been. You look at them; they're loaded, they're talented. I mean, if not this year, Hondo win. I mean, my goodness, I thought this for sure was the year. I guess we'll find out next year. I mean, that's the great thing about college football. These teams carry over, and not quite the parity that we see maybe in the NFL. It seems like there's maybe 6 or 7 teams that can win a title in college football. In the NFL, we've seen teams make great games over the years, and certainly, Las Vegas with that incredible stadium and the franchise. Yeah, I like I said, it's what you got a great beat out there. You got a great product. As a former Denver Broncos fan, I say that with the utmost respect because they made me cry on a lot of Sundays when I was a little kid growing up.
Well, Griff, you are so good at what you do. First of all, I respect you as a man, and I'm so glad I get to call you Grandpa. Welcome to the club. But
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
I appreciate you. You know, I love you, and great coverage of the Dogs. Nobody does it better, and I love it. Thanks for joining us early in the morning.